Hey guys, and welcome back. Yeah, I have the pain with me. Anyway, anyway, let's get on with this. So we're back onto the 728, and this is on the main board, which when I tried powering it up, it just over voltage and shut down my bench power supply, as we saw on the last video. So I went through a few things to try and find out what was causing the problem, and I think we may have found it. So grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink and that comfy old chair, and let's get on with it. Hi guys, back on this 728, and I'm looking at the motherboard. I find that when I power this on with my bench power supply, it shuts down straight away. So it's saying there's a dead short on the board. What I did is I remember seeing something on a video a while ago, a chappie that I do watch from time to time, and he showed a way of trying to find out where there's a fault on a board by looking at the resistances from ground. So I thought I'd have a look at that and see how we go. Didn't find much discrepancy there, but it was a dead short across 5 and ground and between any 5-volt pin and ground. I had a talk to a chappie online, and Ashlyn, and we sat down and he said pull the ROM and check the ROM. Because if the ROM's dead, then the voltage is pretty much gone through the whole board. So I did that. The ROM was in a socket, so I popped the ROM out. I also popped out the video chip as well, because that was in the socket. It had obviously been replaced before. And so I tried powering it on again with those out. Still, it shut down straight away. And it would just over voltage and shut the power supply down. This is my bench power supply, not the Spectra Video one. I decided, right, well, pull out the programmer, drop the ROM in it, and no matter which manufacturer I tested, it came up that there was an issue with the ROM, and it could be shorted pins or something like that. So that told me the ROM is dead. Not a problem. They're a 27256. I have plenty of those kicking around. I can program a new ROM and put it in. Not worth doing anything until we find out where the short is. And the ROM images for these 728s are readily available. And if not, I can pull the one out of my machine and make a copy of that. So anyway, decided that maybe with a lot of these old machines it's a RAM issue. Now this is running recently good RAM, which is the 4-bit by 16s for the video RAM. It runs 2 of those, and it runs the 1-bit by 64s, I think they are. Man, a minute. I have to put my eyes on to check. So this has 8 of the 1-bit by 32s in it, so 32K. So that gives it the 32K of basic memory that it needs. So I've pulled those out, and I pulled out the video RAM, and I thought, well, those are out and the ROM's out and the video IC is out. I'll just try it again. Well, chucked it on and up it came. 5 volts. And it was pulling, it's about 500 milliamp or 470 milliamps, and nothing was getting hot. So I found out where my shorts are. It'll be in either one of the RAM chips or in the video RAM chip. Pop the video IC back in again and powered it up, and it still ran fine. Drew a little more current, but it was still fine. The video chip gets hot in these, so I put a little aluminium heatsink on it to try and dissipate the heat a wee bit, but it was fine. And that's where I'm up to. So now I'm just going to contact the guy who owns the machine and see if he wants me to replace the RAM in this, and does he want me to socket it or not. And socketing is probably the best way to go, because then at a later date, if something happens, easy to replace. And if you get a faulty one, then you don't have to try and desolder it and resolder it again. Alright, so I will show you guys what's going on with the power supply, with the ICs out, the video and RAM ICs out, and you can see what voltage it's drawing, as I was telling you. Okay, so we'll get on with it from here. Right guys, so here I have the machine on the bench. I've got as you can see, the video RAMs were here, they're out. All the video chips are out, the ROM is out, and the video IC is out as well. So if you keep an eye on the over here up the top left, the power supply, I'll switch it on, and there we go. No short, it's not over voltaging and shutting it. Sorry, the boss wants to get off. It's not over voltaging and shutting down like what it was. So it has to be one of these chips that's actually caused the problem. So what I'll do next is I will shut this off, and I'll place in the video chip. So I'm just going to move it so I can get to things, and I'll put my eyes on so I can see what I'm doing. Make sure I get all the pins in, and no, that one's going to come out. You got to be careful of doing that. Some of these old ICs, if they're in and out too many times, the pins get damaged and bent, and they're very easy to bend and get out of the socket. And then you got to be very careful that they don't break on you. This one looks like it's had a bit of a hard life anyway. It's been soldered a few times with wires being attached. Oh, it might have been when it came out of the board, actually. Could have very well been. Alright, so to put it in the right way. Try and get those into the sockets. Those into the sockets. That's better. It's all sitting down now. Okay. Oh, sorry, got a bit of an itchy nose. Anyway, so we've got that in. So now I'll power this back on. And there we go. Because of the video processor, it draws quite a bit of power. So our power consumption has dropped up to 0.78 volts, which is fine. Now this will start to get warm, as it is. They do run hot. They did, in the Spectra videos, they actually put a heatsink on these big aluminium block. I'm not sure if this one should have had one or whether it doesn't. I'll have to check mine to see if it does. But I just sit this on top of it. It's an old heatsink off of an old bit of hardware that I pulled apart. I do have some tiny wee aluminium heat blocks, brand new ones I have floating around. And if need be, we can put one of those on here. But this is just to help to dissipate the heat. But as you can see, that's running fine at about 770 milliamps. So yeah, that's fine. None of these other chips are getting hot, which is good, which means none of them are short. So it looks like our problem is the RAM or the video RAM. Now I was going to ask the guy who owns this, does he want me to just drop new chips into it? But I thought, no, I'll put sockets in. And the reason for putting sockets in, I'll just turn this off, it doesn't need to be running now. Why I'll put sockets in is because I can test this RAM. So I can put them in and find out which ones start causing that to over voltage. And in that way I can probably track down which of these RAMs, if not all of them, are faulty. We're going to have to, the ROM, which is hiding over here. I've tried to read this in my IC programmer, and it comes up with errors all the time. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just program a new ROM, which I do have plenty of these, and I think I'll just program one and drop it back in there. The files for these are available online, that's fine. This is a 27256, I think it is. Yeah, 27256, 200 nano. So that's fine. I've got plenty of those around. Even if they're a little bit quicker, it doesn't matter. So I think I'll program a new one of those, verify it, drop it into here as well. So we know that's working fine. I don't want to pop this in case it causes us more errors. Yeah, I think it's probably just better to replace it. But I will do, I'll dig out sockets and I'll put sockets in here, and then I'll try the video RAM and see if that overvoltages and shuts down. If that does, then I'll pull out one and see if it does it. If it still does it, I'll pull that out and put the other one in and see if it does it. And I'm just going to go through it that way to see if there's any of those that actually cause it to shut down. And if there's only one or two that are causing it to shut down, then I know I've only got to replace one or two. Alright, so I'm going to get on to this now. I'll get me sockets down from up the top of the cabinet up here and put them in here and solder them in. So I'll be back shortly. Alright guys. Right, so I've got the sockets and I've got a stack of the 18s and I put those two in there. It's a capacitor. I pulled out one of these capacitors to make sure it wasn't one of these shorting, and it's not. So that was before I took the RAM out, so I've got to solder that back in. So I've got the two 18 pins down here. I'm just going to tag one leg on each of these so that they stay where they are. Right, I'll do the same with this capacitor. It's a little bit more. Right, and generally I just tag, as I say, I usually tag the one leg to make sure that these are going to sit properly. And I need to push that down and tag this side. And generally I just dot a bit of solder on it so it stops them from wobbling around. And that way then I can go around and I can solder all the other pins. I've got that one to do. Come down the front to this one. And usually when I'm setting these in, as I've said before, I generally do opposite corners, and I just find that makes it sit a lot better. Now if you haven't seen how I desolder the chips and that without ripping the pads and that out, if you have a look on some of my other videos I've done, I will try and put a link in the description of this one. And I use the soldering iron, I use the desoldering gun, but what I do is I also use the hot air. And so what I do with the hot air is I put flux on first, and then I heat up the area with the hot air for about 5 seconds, just to get a bit of warmth into it. And then I use the desoldering gun, and I find that it lets you pull the solder out a lot better. Sometimes with the desoldering gun I just bring the hot air back and just give it a bit more heat, because sometimes they do reclog back up, and sometimes you're on a very hot, a very large ground or power rail, and they're very, very hard to get them to solder in that way. And a lot of the times you find it's easier if you can just making sure this one's sitting down properly, and that way it makes it easier to suck the solder out and release them. Also I use, as I've said ages ago, I got a dentist set, and I used the picks out of a dentist set, and this is the flat blade with the tip on it. And what I do is when I desolder them, if they're not coming out of the board very well, generally I could slide this just under, and then I warm up the back of the board with the hot air, and then you'll hear this creak and they'll start to lift. And when they start to lift, the solder is soft enough. Put the hot air down, gently put this under, and gently work it under and move it up, and then these will pop out. Alright, just be careful, they will be hot, but you don't damage them. So long as you don't go stupid with the heat, you don't damage them. Alright, so I'll carry on doing this. And then the other thing I do is I just double check to make sure the sockets are sitting properly, and these are sitting down nice. And there you can see I have those sockets in, soldered in. I soldered in that capacitor as well. So now I've just got these other 8 to do across here for the RAM, and so I'll do that. You don't need to sit here and watch me do it, guys. So I'll do that, and then we'll come back and try putting the RAM in and see how we go with that. Alright, so I'll see you soon. Hey guys, so I'm back and I got a little ahead of myself, so I'm going to take you back through what I found and what was wrong with this machine that I have found out since. And what I'm going to do is we'll go through the stages of where I left off last time. But there is a couple of little things I want to show you that I didn't pick up on the first one. I thought it was fine, but they weren't. But anyway, I've got the bench power supply on here for you to have a look at. This is so you can see what I saw afterwards, and I'm going to show you why that is. Alrighty, so I have the board here, so I don't know if you need it zoomed out anymore. I might move it back a little, just so you can see the RAM sockets and that. I don't have a ROM made for it yet. I've got to make one up. I've downloaded, there are 2 images, and I'm not too sure what the difference between the 2 different ones is. I'm picking one's European and the other one's English, but we will find out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the original video processor in, and before we do that, I'll just power the machine on so you can see what sort of voltage and amps it's drawing. So there we go. It's pulling 0.4 milliamps. Yeah, 430 milliamps, I should say. Okay, so that's fine because that's the processor and the I/O chip and all that's running. So that's fine. That's fine for what it pulls. Now remember, when we first set this up, this would over voltage as soon as we turned it on. Okay, so now we'll pop the video chip back in. Yep, and that's down fine. I'll grab a pen and a piece of paper if I can find it. That will do. And so we had, if it's going to write for me, okay. So we had 0.43 milliamps is what it was pulling when we had no chips that we're picking are pretty much faulty. So I'll put the video chip in, and now you watch. I'll just pop this back on. Now it's pulling just about double. So now it's gone up to 0.78 or 0.79. Okay. So still 5 volts, so that's not too bad. So that's where we're up to. So I will pop that off, and I will now put in one of the video ROMs. Now, RAMs. Now all these RAM chips, as I took them out going across the board, I marked them with a number of dots, and so this one's got 1 dot on it, so it's the first. Now the video RAM in these boards run 4-bit by 16k, so it runs 2 of them to give it 16k of RAM by 8 bits, so it needs 2. So I'll put 1 in and we'll see what happens. Now with that one in, we've just pulled over an amp with the video processor and with 1 chip in it. So now we're at 101 amps. Okay, so drop down to 1 amp. So there'll be a little bit of very fine filtering on it. So I'll turn that off. I'll put the second video chip in, video memory chip in. Now these are the right way around too. I'm making sure I'm doing that. Now those RAMs are not too bad. The video processor's warmish. But now I'll turn that on. Now automatically we're now pulling another 400 or another 42, no 41. It's slowly dropping down, so we're putting 141 amps now with that one on. And that one's getting very hot, and so is the video chip. So now you see where I was starting to find out there was an issue. So we know that those two are very, very hot, so we'll turn them off and let them cool down for a wee bit. And I'll put 1 of the RAM chips in. So this is the first RAM chip. So we'll now power this on. Now we're up to 165, 164, or 1. So we'll call it 1.62. And that RAM chip is getting quite hot. So I think we'd say that one's probably faulty. And now if I put this next one in, yep, that one's fine. Now we're about 1.876. So 1.84 amps. That's where it's sort of decided to settle down. And even that one is quite hot as well. So this is number 3. So we'll pop number 3 in. Bang, straight away it's over voltage now. And this is what I was saying, this is what I found after I'd done the video chip. Now after a while this video chip does get very, very hot, and it shouldn't get as hot as what it did. And neither should this RAM get as hot as what it did. So what I did is I popped these two out and I put the RAM in, and I could not get the full set of RAM into the board before it would over voltage and shut down. So on my tests I found that all the RAM was faulty. I'm picking that both these are getting very hot, so both the video RAMs will probably be faulty, and I'm picking this video processor is probably faulty as well. So what I'll do is I'll go down what I tried next and we'll pop these out. Now I don't have any video RAM. I've got it coming in, but I don't have any 4-bit by 16s they are coming in. So to show you what I tested when I got to that point, I will do this so you can see that I'm testing like for like when I go back and do what I did. So this is the system RAM, and I'm pretty sure I got to 5 of these before it over voltaged. And it shouldn't matter whether I put the first one in first and work my way to the last one, or the last one in and work my way to the first one. The machine just won't run because there's not enough. The RAM's not addressing properly. It'll actually crash. Well, it might do. Who knows? We could try it. So what I'll do now, see, we're at 182 or 1.82 amps, and so this bench power supply I have is part of my desoldering station. It came as part of it built in. It's a 4-in-1, so it only goes to 2 amps, and this should not draw anywhere near 2 amps. So there we go. We've got 6 in here, and it's over voltaging straight away. So that's what I found, and I thought, well, that's not right. There's got to be something wrong. So it must be got to be this system RAM. So I took all the system RAM out, and thought, well, I'm pretty sure I've got more 1-bit by 64s floating around, and I did. So I popped those into it. So the other thing I couldn't understand was why this was getting so hot. So I've just done, if you looked on my playlists, I've got some MSXs, some Spectra videos, I think it was, that I've just done some work on, and I had to get some video processors for them, and so I had a spare one of these, but this is the 99929. These are running a 9129. These are pin for pin compatible. One is just slightly newer than the other, and they changed a couple of labelings on the pins for what they are. But you can interchange them in these machines. So now I'll pop this as the new one because I don't have the cross on it. Now this was the voltage we got. This was the current it drew when we put the old video processor back in. Look at it now. .64. So it's drawing 150 milliamps less than the other one. And the other thing is, guys, I can leave this running and it doesn't even get hot. It gets slightly warm. It doesn't get hot. So with that, I thought, well, okay, so there's a fault with this video processor as well. So that was good. And then I went along with the RAM, and I thought, well, if the video processor's faulty and the RAM is faulty, let's try putting it in with the RAM. Now, I can't fire this machine up because I don't have the video RAM for it, and I don't want to put the faulty video RAM in just in case it causes me an issue and kills something. And with these machines getting older and parts getting more expensive for them, you don't want to unnecessarily kill things. It's not what you really want to do. I'll just move these faulty chips out of the way as well. It's making it a little bit hard for me to pop these other ones back in. And these are brand new 1-bit by 64s, and I use my little leg straightener, which is on my tools lists in my videos. There's a link in the video there to where you can get the file off Thingiverse and print them yourself or get someone to print them for you. That's a free download for the files. And there's one for the bigger leg straightener as well for the ICs. So you can do the ones like video processors and CPUs and that, and mainly for the older school processors, not the new processors that are out now. One thing I did notice is some of these chips, the pin lengths on the legs are a little bit different on some of them. Some of them sit a little bit prouder than the others as we go along. But there I've got the full set of RAM, so 64K in there now. Turn this on. And look at that. We have the video processor in here. And I've got a full complement of RAM in here. And we are just over what this thing was running with just the video processor in it. So how's that? True, this is not running because there's no ROM in it, but we need to do another ROM. So I'm just waiting for these to come in. They should be in hopefully in a week or two. As I say, I don't want to put these in because I don't want it to damage anything here or the video processor. I mean, these video processors aren't overly expensive. If you bought one of these, the 9129s, they're crazy money. They are really... These video processors to buy, there's only one place on AliExpress that has them, $90 each. You can go into eBay and you're still paying $60 each for them. You go to the 9928s and you're paying $6, $7 for them. Why? It's the same chip, guys. You know, it's like these all. Someone thought that these ones will only run 1 bit by 16K for the RAM. No, they run with these as well. It's exactly the same. Why is it so expensive? I have no idea. But anyway, as you see, that's sitting there. A little bit of ambient temperature. As they get a little bit warmer, they do. But these are stone cold. The RAM chips are stone cold. Not like they were before where they were getting really, really, really hot. These are not. These are all stone cold. So, that's where we're up to, guys. So, I thought I would show you all this and where we are to with this machine. I'm picking, as soon as we get these two, we'll put them in. We may run at about an amp. Just under, I'm picking. If that's the case, I think I should have the ROM done by then. So, we should pop the ROM in and put it all back together. I think stick the keyboard on it, back in the case, and see how we go. Because as I was saying, this is the this seems to be the only thing. The power supply itself is fine, so we're getting all the voltages out of it. The only thing I have to check is the video outside of it, because I don't know if anything got damaged in the video outside on the power board. So that's the only other thing I need to double check. But here we are, guys. So I think this is a win-win. Alright, I'm going to finish this one here, and I think we'll come back to it when these RAM chips come in. So the next video may be this. It may be one of the other machines if I haven't got the parts in for this. Alright? Okay, we'll catch you soon. So guys, there we go. It's just about there. It's just about up and running. Video RAM, and away we go. Now I've got some spares coming in. I thought I had some, but they are not. They're I think they're 1 bit by 16s I had. So I've got some coming in. Hopefully not too far away, and we'll have this up and running, and it can go back to Stephen. Here's hoping we have another Spectra video alive and back in the world again and functioning fine. So guys, it pays to check, even though it seems to run alright. Always do the heat test on this old gear to make sure it is not overheating. And take note of what's happening with your voltages and your current and that when you're adding chips back in, because that will give you some sort of an idea of what's going on. And as you've seen, I now have to start heeding my own words. So guys, this is where we're up to. I didn't have to crack my one out and fire it up to find out what the issues are. Well, not yet anyway. Yeah, hopefully another one back in circulation and running again. So I hope you're liking this video series so far. I've had a little bit of positive feedback from people, and please too, give us a thumbs up for it. It helps with all the YouTube paraphernalia that they do, and it helps it get out there to more people who may be interested in it. So guys, as I say, have a great day, have a great week, and until next time, ciao.